Everyone thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing himself. All happy families are alike. Each unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. It is amazing how complete is the delusion that beauty is goodness. I think if it is true that there are as many minds as there are heads, then there are as many kinds of love as there are hearts. Respect was invented to cover the empty place where love should be. We can know only that we know nothing. And that is the highest degree of human wisdom. Only people who are capable of loving strongly can also suffer great sorrow, but this same necessity of loving serves to counteract their grief and heals them. When you love someone, you love the person as they are, and not as you'd like them to be. Be bad, but at least don't be a liar, a deceiver. Love. The reason I dislike that word is that it means too much for me, far more than you can understand. The strongest of all warriors are these two: time and patience. If everyone fought for their own convictions, there would be no war. Boredom, the desire for desires. There is no greatness where there is not simplicity, goodness, and truth. All great literature is one of two stories: a man goes on a journey or a stranger comes to town. It's much better to do good in a way that no one knows anything about it. The best stories don't come from good versus bad, but good versus good. Happiness does not depend on outward things, but on the way we see them. True life is lived when tiny changes occur. But the law of loving others could not be discovered by reason, because it is unreasonable. If we admit that human life can be ruled by reason, then all possibility of life is destroyed. What counts in making a happy marriage is not so much how compatible you are, but how you deal with incompatibility. I often think that men don't understand what is noble and what is ignorant, though they always talk about it. We are asleep until we fall in love. Everything I know because of love. To get rid of an enemy, one must love him. Every lie is a poison. There are no harmless lies. Only the truth is safe. Only the truth gives me consolation. It is the one unbreakable diamond. Every heart has its own skeletons. Which is worse? The wolf who cries before eating the lamb, or the wolf who does not? There are no conditions to which a person cannot grow accustomed, especially if he sees that everyone around him lives in the same way. Here's my advice to you: don't marry until you can tell yourself that you've done all you could, and until you've stopped loving the women you've chosen, until you see her clearly. Otherwise you'll be cruelly and irremediably mistaken. Marry when you're old and good for nothing, otherwise all that's good and lofty in you will be lost. I sit on a man's back, choking him and making him carry me, and yet assure myself and others that I am sorry for him and wish to lighten his load by all means possible, except by getting off his back. The only absolute knowledge attainable by man is that life is meaningless. Happiness is an allegory, unhappiness a story. Everything depends on upbringing. The most difficult subjects can be explained to the most slow-witted man if he has not formed any idea of them already. But the simplest thing cannot be made clear to the most intelligent man if he is firmly persuaded that he knows already, without a shadow of doubt, what is laid before him. Writing laws is easy, but governing is difficult. We love people not so much for the good they've done us, as for the good we've done them. When one's head is gone, one doesn't weep over one's hair. Life is too long to say anything definitely. Always say perhaps. Everything ends in death. Everything. Death is terrible. History would be a wonderful thing, if it were only true. In order to understand, observe, deduce, man must first be conscious of himself as alive. Truth, like gold, is to be obtained not by its growth, but by washing away from it all that is not gold. People of limited intelligence are fond of talking about these days, imagining that they have discovered and appraised the peculiarities of these days and that human nature changes with the times. Everything that I understand only because I love. Hell is the inability to love. He never chooses an opinion, he just wears whatever happens to be in style. I felt a wish never to leave that room, a wish that dawn might never, that my present frame of mind might never change. There is no greatness where simplicity, goodness, and truth are absent. It's different for you and me. You study, you become enlightened. I study, I become confused. I don't think badly of people. I like everybody, and I'm sorry for everybody. Speech is silver but silence is golden. What's all this love of arguing? No one ever convinces anyone else. How strange it is that when I was a child I tried to be like a grown-up, yet as soon as I ceased to be a child I often longed to be like one. Happiness is pleasure without regret. Life is fragile and absurd. Power is a word the meaning of which we do not understand. I think that in order to know love one must make a mistake and then correct it. Mathematics is the queen of disciplines. It will drive the nonsense out of your head. I can never forget what is my whole life. I'd rather end up wishing I hadn't than end up wishing I had. Pure, perfect sorrow is as impossible as pure and perfect joy. When in doubt, my dear fellow, do nothing. Satan can never be driven out by Satan. Error can never be corrected by error, and evil cannot be vanquished by evil. To say that a work of art is good, but incomprehensible to the majority of men, is the same as saying of some kind of food that it is very good but that most people can't eat it. Rummaging in our souls, we often dig up something that ought to have lain there unnoticed. Just as one candle lights another and can light thousands of other candles, so one heart illuminates another heart and can illuminate thousands of other hearts. Seize the moments of happiness, love, and be loved. That is the only reality in the world. All else is folly. It is the one thing we are interested in here. A man is never such an egotist as at moments of spiritual ecstasy. At such times it seems to him that there is nothing on earth more splendid and interesting than himself. Therein is the whole business of one's life, to seek out and save in the soul that which is perishing. Feelings resembled memories, but memories of what? Apparently one can remember things that have never happened. I know now that people only seem to live when they care only for themselves, and that it is by love for others that they really live. I did not myself know what I wanted. I feared life, desired to escape from it, yet still hoped something of it. I had begun to feel that life was a repetition of the same thing, that there was nothing new either in me or in him, and that, on the contrary, we kept going back as it were on what was old. Some mathematician said, pleasure lies not in discovering truth, but in seeking it.